So, how long do you think we'll be here? I'm not talking to you.
Hi there, I'm B127. I'm actually working on some nicknames. The one I'm floating right now is Badassatron.
You know what? We are so screwed! Thought you weren't talking to me.
You two, come with me. Report to Waste Management.
Which is actually pronounced Badassatron.
We're gonna call you B.
Don't you want to see what's out there?
No one goes to the surface.
I know we're just lowly worker bots who can't even transform.
It's dangerous!
Why'd you bring jetpacks?
You have proven yourself worthy.
If we survive this, I'm gonna kill you!
I accept those terms.
Take these. And access your full potential.
It's time to show them we are more than meets the eye.
The surface.
It's working! Where's my head?
It's beautiful. We can transform now!
On 3, 1.
How do we use these things?
Oh, look at the wheels! I need wheels!
We've got these powers for a reason.
Guys, that's not good. We stand here together as one.
It appeared with this guy! Knife hands? I have knife hands!
I can see that.
Whoa!
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. I got a lot of requests to do a video for the Transformers 1 trailer, so we'll break it all down. There are a lot of questions here, like, is this meant to be a reboot? Is this meant to be part of the continuity? Are they retconning things? So we'll explain what's going on and why Chris Hemsworth, of all people, is voicing Optimus Prime and not Peter Cullen like you would normally expect, because he's been the only person to voice the character since the creation of the Transformers back in the 1980s.
And I got to the audition and I said, "My name is Optimus Prime from the planet Cybertron."
If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. But what's happening here is I think this is meant to be a reboot of their origin story targeted towards a much, much younger audience. Like, this animation doesn't really seem on par with like Spider-Verse animation. But here's where it connects with the live-action Transformer movies. I think it's meant to be part of the Bumblebee reboot universe of Transformers. There's been a lot of questions about this since Beast Wars came out especially. Generally, everything since the Bumblebee movie is meant to be part of this rebooted timeline. Like, there's Bumblebee, then Transformers Beast Wars, and the sequel after that, which is going to be the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie. They just confirmed that they're doing that. I mean, we all knew they were doing it, but they finally made it official recently.
G.I. Joe.
In any other live-action Transformers movie that happens after that, like the sort of soft reboot of the universe back with Bumblebee, all the Michael Bay stuff, all that continuity is completely separate now, which is why there were so many questions about Unicron during Transformers Beast Wars. Like, wait a minute, what's going on with Unicron here? Generally, it seems like in the rebooted universe here, even in this animated movie, they're trying to be a little bit truer to some of the deep-cut origin stories, because the Transformers' origins have changed depending on who's writing the story over the years. The actual name of the movie, Transformers 1, is a reference to the time when all Transformers on Cybertron were of one faction, like Megatron, Optimus Prime, Decepticons, Autobots, before all that happened. That's called the Great War, like when they actually went to war, like factions went to war over the control of Cybertron. One of Optimus Prime's big catchphrases is, "Till all are one," but he's talking about when they're all literally one, like when they're all dead and their life energies, all the Transformers' life energies, are combined back into one single entity. But this is basically meant to tell you the origin story of those two main factions where Megatron and Optimus Prime used to be brothers in arms, like they used to be good friends. Obviously, it sounds weird because all these different people are voicing the characters. Like, why is Chris Hemsworth in a Transformers movie? What's going on here?
When I voiced Prime for the very first time, I was living with my brother Larry, who was a Marine, and I said, I'm going to an audition. I'm going to be a truck. And he started to laugh. He said, a truck? And I said, this is a leader. This is a hero. And his demeanor just changed. He just went, well, Peter, if you're going to be a leader, be strong enough to be gentle.
I think they're trying to use the fact that Peter Cullen is getting very advanced in age and they're doing a soft reboot here, and this is set so early in the timeline, and they're targeting this towards a much, much younger audience to have someone different voice the character. But also, it seems like they're kind of pulling a DreamWorks animation situation here where they just cast a bunch of famous people to voice the characters, hoping that that will bring more families to buy tickets. Like, oh, famous people, Chris Hemsworth, I love him in the Marvel movies, I'll go see the movie now. I don't know that that was necessary. Like, it felt like it would have been fine with the original voice actors doing it. And even though I haven't seen them say this publicly, Peter Cullen is still meant to be the voice of Optimus Prime in the live-action Transformers movies. There's no way this movie was ever going to go as hard as the original Transformers animated movie. That's still traumatic for a lot of people. Like, everybody remembers their childhood just watching them kill off all the G1 Transformers at the beginning of that film. But I think they wanted to have a lighter tone just in general because Bumblebee during the trailer, played by 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐤𝐽𝐽, which is also a little bit weird hearing him voice that character, makes a joke about being super dark when he calls himself Badassatron. Some of the voices here are pretty easy to pick out though. Chris Hemsworth, like I said, voicing Orion Pax, which was Optimus Prime's name before he became one of the Primes. Megatron going by his original name, D16, voiced by Brian Tyree Henry. Also a bit weird, I would not think that Megatron sounded like Brian Tyree Henry. Bumblebee's original name was B-127. That's where the B name came from, like Megatron in the trailer says, we're going to just call you B. It seems like what's going on here is they're saying the Quintessons, who I think are meant to be the villains of the movie, are controlling Cybertron at this point in history. That kind of flows with the continuity of Transformers' backstory going way back in the lore. The Quintessons are an ancient race of Transformers as well. They came from Cybertron, but eventually they started practicing really dark arts and were banished to another dimension. So it seems like when the movie picks up, they're ruling over Cybertron and just forcing all the regular Transformers to act as worker bots mining energon down in the bowels of Cybertron. And it kind of seems like Optimus Prime and Megatron wind up leading a revolt against the Quintessons and help liberate all Transformers. But one of the things that led to the Great War, this big schism between these two friends here into the different factions of Transformers, is that they disagreed very strongly about how best to defend Cybertron. They changed a lot of that backstory for the Michael Bay film, so if you're confused about what was going on before the events of Bumblebee, just forget about all that. Even though this Transformer seems like he might be a version of Shockwave, Shockwave actually shows up later in the trailer, so I think this is meant to be a totally different Transformer. Part of the idea, though, is that all Transformers, even the Quintessons, were created by Primus, who is Cybertron. Like, the planet is a living giant Transformer originally called Primus, who's like their god. He's meant to be the twin of Unicron. Their backstories changed a little bit over the years, but they introduced Unicron during Beast Wars. During the original cartoon, they stated they were created by Primacon, this really ancient genius Transformer. But at some point after the dawn of the universe, they were created. Primus wound up trapping himself and Unicron in the bodies of asteroids, which is how he wound up turning into Cybertron. Basically, when this is all going on, he's dormant, like his consciousness is dormant inside Cybertron. Part of the lore goes on to say, though, that eventually Unicron will find him, he'll reawaken, and they'll do battle again. Do not be surprised if we see a version of that in the live-action Transformers movies at some point. They've already done one planet-sized Transformer, don't be surprised if they do the other one too. But part of the backstory is that Primus, Cybertron here, created the Transformers race in order to fight Unicron, who wants to take over the entire universe. The Quintessons were part of that, but they went off the rails and seems like they kind of turned evil. You see them start to explore more forbidden areas, quote-unquote, like the surface, and get reprimanded. This is Elita 1. She's being voiced by Scarlett Johansson, more Marvel people winding up in these movies. She's actually the older sister of 𝐴𝐸𝐶. This sign here, Icon 5000, is a reference to their main city on Cybertron. It eventually became the heart of the Autobots faction. They show a scene of Megatron looking more villainous with the glowing Decepticon symbol here. It seems like he eventually brands himself with it during the movie, and he and Optimus Prime might have their big split at the end of the film. All the battles that are happening during the trailer, though, seem like they're from them defeating the Quintessence, though. Like, first they band together to defeat the Quintessence, then eventually they have their schism, and it leads to the Great War with the big civil war on Cybertron. They'll probably cover that if they do sequels to this animated prequel movie. They start to see the bones of ancient Transformers here. This purple Transformer that Megatron finds might be 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐤𝐴𝐵. We actually hear him speaking later in the trailer. I'll cover that in a second. This seems like one of the Quintessence ships here, and the other regular drone Transformers they're controlling here. They grab some jetpacks, they make it to the surface, there's a reference about them killing each other, wink wink, we all know how that goes down. We see what you're doing here, like everybody pointing at the screen doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, they said the thing. Which he also does later in the trailer, more than meets the eye. I see what you did there, he said the thing again. This voice of the old Transformer telling them they've proven themselves and gives them the ability to transform is Lawrence Fishburne. He's playing 𝐓𝐵, the purple Transformer that Megatron just found. In the lore, he's meant to be one of the oldest living Transformers in existence. He doesn't fight a lot during the actual Great War, like the Civil War, but he did side with the Autobots. John Hamm, of all people, is playing Sentinel Prime, big character in the lore. All these bones of the dead ancient Transformers seem like they were defeated in a war against the Quintessence a long time ago. When they get their ability to transform, they have a big suit-up powers montage with them practicing their abilities. These are all more regular drones in the Cybertronian Quintessent forces. This is Starscream, Soundwave, Shockwave, which seems like they've already rebelled, like he's trying to rule over his own little fiefdom here, which seems very like Starscream. This little animal Transformer might be a Piranacon because Quintessents control a lot of animal-themed Transformers. Now, Megatron wasn't really in the Beast Wars movie. My assumption is that he will show up in the G.I. Joe crossover sequel. Unicron was also stranded on the other side of the universe too, so I don't think that Unicron will be a really big character in the sequel. Like, he'll eventually come back, like they want to tease, oh, he's out there, he's coming eventually. Part of the reason why Unicron wanted Earth, though, is there was a piece of technology hidden on Earth that would allow him to basically transport himself instantly across the universe so he could consume any planet. Also, there's a bit of a multiverse story too, so he could transport himself to other universes and consume them as well too. So really, that's like the end game threat of these live-action Transformers movies. And I think, like I said, that will lead to Primus eventually coming back too. Like, his consciousness will awaken inside Cybertron, and he'll become another planet-sized Transformer fighting him. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, though, and all your theories. Like, how do you feel about Chris Hemsworth and all these way more famous live-action actors voicing the characters? I suppose as long as this is meant to be sort of like its own thing, it's like it's kind of part of the continuity, but it's also kind of its own thing, I think it's a little bit better. I would have been way more upset if they did this with the live-action Transformers movies. Like, no, Peter Cullen is definitely Optimus Prime. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. Speaking of top-tier animation, X-Men 97 episodes happening right now. I just posted my episode 6 video. Click here for that, and click here for that new Captain America X-Men 97 trailer, because we're going to see some Avengers characters showing up too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.